We're here at Identity Week America. I'm joined now by Stephanie Shuckers, Director at the Centre for Identification Technology Research. From your perspective, how do we close the gap between physical and digital ID?
Well, what's interesting is what we used to do in terms of closing that gap is something you have or something you know. So something you have might be an ID, or something you know might be a password. But today, now, we are using things like biometrics, not necessarily to replace our previous methods, but actually to put them together to get the benefits of each. And I think one of the value of something like biometric recognition is that connection between the real world physical thing, that is your human body, and the digital world, which allows you to confirm a person's identity.
How important is collaboration and a collaborative approach to advancing the capabilities of this technology, biometrics?
Yes, I mean, the technology has a lot of promise and has been shown through many applications over the last 10, really 20 years, for border security, for logging into your phone. But we really just scratched the surface for how this can be paired with things like identity management, in terms of making things not only more secure, but easier for people to manipulate. I know, with my long list of passwords, and fumbling around with IDs and documents, I think there is a lot of need to incorporate this technology into our other frameworks in order to do a better job.
Brilliant. What are the current challenges to enhancing biometrics? I know mitigating the bias issue is probably a challenge.
Yes, so bias is related to multiple aspects. Of course, we have bias that's kind of inherent to what we do, right? And the ways to mitigate that is to have a multi-stakeholder approach in terms of how we implement systems. But then there's also a technological aspect to bias, which, if you remember from your statistics class, you might see differences between groups in how the system operates. And so some of the work we're doing in my research center, CIDER, is looking at how do we balance the performance across groups such that each group has a similar experience when they're working with technology, and one group isn't more set apart from another in terms of their experience. And so we're doing that through not only balancing data sets, but looking at the machine learning algorithms, the AI itself, right, as well as the statistical analysis on the outside. How do we measure how we're doing? How do we test how well we're doing in terms of meeting our goals?
That leads me on to my next question. What recent research have you been doing?
Yeah, so in the center, we look at various aspects of biometric technology and identity technology. So one is, of course, looking at bias, but we look at things, like vulnerabilities. For example, a person could create an identity document by fusing two faces together and merging those faces to make kind of a magic identity document. We look at aspects like aging. How do your biometrics change as you age? How can we use biometrics to help us with aspects related to children, right? So how, for example, refugees, first responders, missing children. We are also studying something called crypto systems, where we're actually meshing biometrics with cryptography so we can actually match our biometrics in a secure space in order to protect the data that is precious to what we're doing.
Do we need to do more work in securing biometrics, think about data privacy, all those things?
Right, yeah, so that last one, data, that actually helps both with security as well as data privacy. And so what it allows is that when we store the biometric data, it doesn't have to be unencrypted in order to match against it. So if we put that biometric data in a database, as opposed to on your phone, which is in your own little local database, but it's in a central database, so we could use it for ease of access for, many, benefits that are provided by government, as well as banking, as well as shopping. that data, if it were stolen, cannot be unencrypted and go back to your original data. And so that's some of the advantages of securing biometric using this particular way of doing it rather than our sort of classical methods. Of course, we do research on people who are trying to fake the devices, so they're attacking the devices by stealing your biometric and making a fake biometric. And we're also studying deep fakes and how it might interfere with identity systems.
Well, it's great to have an academic at the event. Who do you hope to meet at Identity Week and collaborate?
Yes, so our center is a multi-stakeholder center. We have members from across government and industry, and we have all our academic partners. And so with the center CIDER, we have a booth, and therefore we can work with all of our current members, but also meet new people in terms of meeting the next generation of challenges.
Brilliant. Thanks for speaking with me today.
Happy to do so.